Hello and welcome to another edition of AttractWell Office Hours. I'm Coach Ashley, joined today by founder of AttractWell, Greg Kilwine. Hey, Greg.
Hey everyone, really glad you're here today.
We're excited to be here today because we are talking about brand palettes. We're going to talk about how you can create yours and all of the different ways that you can set yours up and use it. I'll be demonstrating how to create your brand palette today using Canva. If you have Canva, I think you're going to really enjoy learning about this feature. It's going to save you loads of time. And we also have a tool that a member of our team created that can help you with getting everything plugged in as well. We'll talk about how you can translate that brand palette in Canva over to your AttractWell site for easy setup and continuous design, keeping that brand you've established going all throughout all the places you show up online. So welcome. If you're new, we host these calls every Thursday at 2 p.m. US Eastern Time. This is a great opportunity to connect with an awesome community of people and learn a bit more about ways you can use your AttractWell site to save yourself time and be more effective in the work that you do. So we welcome you and are excited to have you here with us today. Greg and I are going to get out a video here in a moment and get into our slides. But before we do, say hello, head over into the chat. We love to know where you're coming from and what the work is that you do. We so love learning about the folks in this community that are doing great work out there. We are here because we want to help you do more of your great work in the world. So welcome. Always thrilled to have you. All right, I'm going to turn out video and we are going to get into some slides. It's going to be pretty brief here today because most of what we'll be doing is actually demonstrating how to actually get these things done on their respective websites. So on Canva and on AttractWell. But as promised, we are going to talk about brand palettes today, and specifically utilizing Canva alongside your AttractWell account to get those done. So first, we're going to talk about what brand palettes are. What does this mean? Why do you need one? And where does it go? What does it do? We'll talk about where it's used, and then we'll actually walk through the steps of how to create and use your own brand palette. And of course, as always, we do have space on this call for live help and Q&A. If you are here looking for support, if you're looking for feedback, if you're looking for help with something, this is a great opportunity to get it. So be sure to head over to the Q&A now and add your questions. And if you're watching us from our YouTube channel as a replay, or if you're watching this in our Facebook group as a live broadcast, I want to invite you to head over to attractwell.com/office hours, sign up for our weekly list. We send out a notification about what we will be talking about, and you'll always have an invitation there to get on to this list to be on a work review. And so essentially what this is an opportunity for you to reserve time, like some folks have today, to work on something on an upcoming Thursday call. So this is an opportunity not just to learn something, but to actually work together. So I hope you'll take us up on that. And if you would like to take that a step further and have someone do some work for you, you can go to attractwell.com/concierge. Whether you have a migration project from one or many platforms, you have a website that you would like to build, if you would like systems developed, courses created, the whole 9 yards, everything that you could do with AttractWell, you can go to attractwell.com/concierge to learn about our team and get a quote for your project. Now, a brand palette. Let's talk about this today. Maybe let me know in the chat, do you have a brand palette? Have you already established what the colors are for your brand? That is essentially what this is. Just like an artist has a palette where they are selecting from a set group of colors they'll be using to create a painting, your brand palette is a set group of colors that you will use to express your brand's messaging and to generally just show up online. So this is going to encompass your logo colors, the colors you use on your website, the colors you use in printed materials, business cards, handouts. This would also touch on the colors you utilize on social media, whatever you use visually for your content. Your brand palette provides a framework that you can use so that you are showing up consistently. The key to branding and really taking advantage of the psychological influence powers that brands are able to wield, the key to doing that is showing up consistently. Part of that, huge part of that, is on message, right? So keeping your brand on message. But then there is another very important piece, and that is visually showing up consistently. So your brand palette allows you to do that very simply. And if you have your brand palette plugged into a couple of key places, it becomes very simple and easy to make sure that every piece of content that you create, every page you develop, whatever that looks like that you're creating for your brand, is always going to show up with the right colors. So the basics of a brand palette are as follows. First, we need to have a maximum of 5 to 6 colors. You can have fewer, less is more, but 5 to 6 colors maximum is my typical recommendation. And that's going to include 1 to 3 colors that are the main ones or the primary ones that you use, right? So you may have a single color that you use most of the time, but maybe you also, maybe you have 2, maybe you have 3. I wouldn't go too crazy with this. You want to have 2 main colors that you use, or 1 or 3, and then everything else is supporting, right? So these are going to be, the background section colors on your website, for instance, or the background of an image and a piece of image content. Now, if your brand is using high contrast colors, I want to encourage you to be thinking about using a lot of negative space so that you're creating visual balance. The idea of a brand palette is one of consistency. It's making sure that you're showing up the same all the time. But that doesn't mean that you need to be expressing all potentially 6 of your colors all the time, all at once, right? We want to have our primary ones, and then we want to have the more subtle colors if you're using maybe a lighter palette for supporting colors, or you would be obviously using black or white, or black and white as sort of your supporting colors there to create negative space so that you have visual balance. We don't want to have our design elements become louder than our brand's message, right? These are supporting elements to the message of our brand. We want to make sure that these colors are used consistently across all platforms. So if you have a green color in your color palette, that exact same shade of green needs to be the one that you're using in your logo, in your visual content, on your website, etc. Right? So it's the same color, you're using it everywhere, or the same combination of colors, of course, that you're using everywhere. And always remember that it is okay to edit, remove some colors, step back just a little bit, because this is not a coloring book activity, though I did in the email that we sent out this week, talk about how, if you like coloring as a child, then this is something that you might enjoy doing, playing around with this aspect of how you show up in your business. But I do want to caution you in your utilization of color in your designs. You want to, again, just make sure that we're not getting so loud that we are detracting from the message that our brand is sending. All right, so where is our brand palette used? First, of course, it's used throughout your website. It's the buttons, it's the font, it's the colors of the links. And when you hover over a link, it's the menu. All of these things are reflected. The background section colors, you are able to use all of these colors from your palette throughout your website. Also your logo, your actual brand logo, and the favicon or small icon that you use that shows up in the browser on your site. Now, social profiles is another great place for you to utilize these colors. I've seen a lot of folks take their color palette and apply it very cleverly on Instagram, for instance. That's a great example of that. But any sort of images that you might be using, maybe as as background or header images. And then, of course, in the social content that you create, which sometimes can be maybe images, image quotes. It's a great example. You could be utilizing your colors there with that visual content. Now, if you are creating content like blog posts, YouTube videos, podcasts, these are going to be places where you're going to utilize, again, that same brand palette to create your thumbnails, your promotional images, right? Your email headers in your newsletters, and so much more. And if you are creating, which I'm sure most of us are, digital downloads, right? This could be an ebook or just any kind of digital download that you would offer for a lead magnet, for instance. If you are releasing a course and you've got a workbook, you're going to want to use your brand palette for that as well. Now let's talk about how we can set up and use our brand palette. First, we want to choose our colors. Once we've got our colors chosen, we can then set up a brand kit in Canva. And if you have Canva Pro, which we highly, highly recommend, then this is a really fun and easy thing, and it makes your life very easy moving forward. But then you do also have the option of creating and downloading a brand guideline. We have an updated version of a brand guideline that we'll be sharing with you here today. There's a Canva template link that you can use. And then from there, we can add these colors to our colors and fonts page in AttractWell. This is going to give you presets across your site. You'll be able to make sure that your text and your menu and your link covers and all of that stuff is set up the way that you want with the colors that you want. And you can modify your buttons there as well. So let's go create a brand palette and set one up in AttractWell. So bear with me just a moment here. I'm going to change my share and we are going to go take a look first at Canva. I'm going to show you where you can go in Canva to create a brand kit. This is my number one recommendation if you are going to be setting up a brand palette. If you haven't done this yet, highly recommend that you do. In Canva Pro, you're going to want to head over here to where it says brand. And you can see brand kits. So I'm going to go see all because I have several. This is actually one that I created earlier today. I'm going to create a new one. So we're going to go add new. And this is going to, I'm just going to call this my brand kit. And here's where we can begin adding colors from our color palette. Now there is another option if you are not using Canva Pro. Again, can't recommend enough that you use Canva Pro. Is going to make your life easier, but we also do have a Canva template that you can utilize. This is one that was created by Jessica from our team. It's very simple, 8.5 by 11. It's something that you can actually use if you are outsourcing any of your design work for your brand. You could actually hire our team to create one of these for you if you'd like. But what you can do here is also add those colors in. So you can see you can have up to 6 colors here in this section, and you can have your RGB values, that's the numbers with the slashes here, or you can have your hex code, which is this 6 letter or number value with the pound sign next to it here. All right, now, what if you aren't really sure how to create a color palette? How do I know what colors look good together? How can I choose something that works for me? So one of the great things that Canva offers is a palette generator. So I'm just going to Google Canva palette generator, and they actually have one right here. I believe it's canva.com/colors. If you click it, it will allow you to head over here to a page where if my there we go, where you can actually upload an image and it will pull colors from the image and provide you with a palette, which is really cool. So you can do this here. You can see just by clicking the demo image, here's a really great photo that has an excellent palette here attached to it. So you can actually take maybe a photo of a favorite outdoor scene or something else that you particularly love, and you can get some great colors from that. Another awesome tool that I love is coolors.co, the COOLORS.co. And here you can use a generator. And by simply pressing the space bar, you can see lots of different great color palettes. So you can find some that you like. You can actually begin with one. So maybe I want to save it, or you can use shades of a particular color and select those, right? Obviously, that's definitely not the move with that one. But yeah, you can actually move through and find colors that you really like. Now, one of the things that I want to kind of talk about here in terms of making good selections of colors in your palette, and let me find one that's high saturation. This is a really great example here. We have a lot of really saturated and bright colors happening here, like this very bright pink. We've got this very bright gold, and this purple is quite bright as well. Now we do have, sort of a grounding happening here with this cool gray and this deep navy. You're going to want to make sure if you use a palette that looks like this with this degree of high contrast, that you are using a lot of negative space. You need kind of a breather for the eyes. So this would be a great example, this color here in the center, to use a lot on a page as as like a section background, right? And then go very minimal with these brighter colors, right? So I wouldn't necessarily want to create, a page that had multiple section backgrounds with one in this color and one in that color and one in that color. It gets really loud really fast. So what I would encourage you to do is maybe punctuate text on the page by creating maybe a header that just has maybe this color for the font, and maybe somewhere on the page, you've got this color for a button, right? So you want to just make sure you're being quite judicious about your utilization of these colors, making sure that we aren't just trying to cram as many of them as possible into a single document or page or piece of content, but to really look at our color palette as a means of punctuating our message. All right. So now let's talk about how we can take a palette, and I want to find one that that's loud. I want to find one that I like a little better, and we're going to move it into Canva. All right, here we go. There's nice purples and grays and periwinkles here. So if we like this, we can begin by selecting one of the colors. So I'm going to grab this one from the picker here. I'm going to copy this one, and I'm going to head over here to brand kits. I'm going to add new and paste my color right here. Now, if you are creating the brand guideline, in lieu of creating your brand kit, you could certainly go over here and swap these colors out by doing the same thing. So you select the circle, you change the color by clicking here, and then you search for the color and you can add it there. And then of course you will want to go in and paste that code, right, to set up that brand guideline. Now I'm going to continue with the brand kit. Again, I recommend this the most because it is really the simplest path to operating. It saves you tons of time. So I'll just go in and paste the remainder of these in. Oops. And you can also, well, if you do have colors that you're using elsewhere and you want to play with those, you can actually use the Coolers tool here to generate other colors that you could use alongside a color that you may have already chosen. All right, so I'll add a new color here and just continue to create this palette. There we go, and that's the last one. Okay, so with this done, there's a couple of things that we can do. Like I mentioned, because this is set up here in your brand kit, it's going to now be available to you whenever you create something in Canva. So maybe I wanted to actually go in and finish creating a brand guideline. Your life will be so much easier because you can go in and select each of these images. And instead of having to copy and paste, you can go in and find your brand kit that you've set up and simply change out these elements, which is just so nice, right? Now I've only got these colors in my palette, so I'm just going to recenter this. There we go. So now we have that set up, and you can of course continue on with modifying your brand guideline to your liking. But the main thing is that you want to have it here set up in your brand kit, right? You want to have your colors that you've selected in your brand kit. Now you could, and I'm actually going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to download this so I can easily grab these colors using a color picker. So I'm going to download this as a PDF. But you could certainly use an image as well if you're going to do what I'm about to do, which is to have that PDF open on my screen where I can see it next to my browser window. So I'll make my life easy by doing that, but I'll show you how you could also do this if you are maybe on a screen where you don't have a side-by-side view. So let's head back over to AttractWell. This is where we're going to go and actually set up our brand colors inside of our account. So if I go over here under the website and blog, we go to colors and fonts. And here we can select our brand colors. Now we do have several options here. Let's talk through what these are. First, we have our links, and then of course the color that our links change to when we hover over a link. This is our headline, our menu text. So this is the what the menu looks like. So if we go to view her site, the menu is this color that you can see here. But if you hover over the menu, you can see that the color changes, right? So you can change that here. You've got subtext, secondary colors, and then you've got all of your custom colors here too. Now, if you only have 5 colors, you can repeat throughout. So I know that I would like to have my link be this darker purple color. Now I have a color picker that you can see here. I am on a Mac. This is going to look slightly different for you if you are on a PC. But it is going to be somewhat similar. So I'm going to use this eyedropper tool because I have this on my screen, and I'm just going to go hover over and grab my purple here. And then my hover, and maybe you are someone who needs to paste in the hex code, which is totally fine. If we go over to our Canva, into our brand kit, we can actually go and retrieve that code from right here and come back here and paste it in right here, right? So let's go ahead and continue with getting these set up. So I'm going to use my color picker again, just because I have this on my screen already. I'm going to use the headline and menu text are going to all be this darker color. I'm going to change the menu text hover over here to maybe be that link color. And so you can just basically go through and modify and make sure that all of these are changed to reflect the colors that you have in your palette. So I'm just going to make sure that I've got everything swapped out, because these are going to show up as options for me elsewhere on the site when you are setting things up. Okay, so I have all of these colors here, good to go. The next thing that we want to do is set up our button colors. All right, so now we can go in and make our modifications. Now, one thing that I will note, and we do have obviously names on these buttons. I obviously didn't change this one from red, but one thing that I will say, and I think this is important to note, if you are, utilizing buttons and calls to action on pages on your website, there is a lot of data that shows that a red button is a high converting factor on a page. So I would encourage you to maybe find a red color that you believe fits nicely with your palette. So how you could go about doing this, if you have set up your color palette in Canva, here's what I would do. I would go to create a design, and I'm just going to use like a logo to make my life simple. And then I'm going to go into elements so that I can grab some circles here. Okay, so I've got a few of these circles, and I'm going to go and just make sure that I can see all of them. And I'm going to assign each of them a color from my palette. And I'm going to then basically test out and see which one of these I might like with like as a red color that complements this palette, or something that's higher contrast, right? So here's all of my colors. Now I'm going to just create an additional one here. And maybe I want something that's in the red family, but that is, I don't know, I think, obviously it needs to have some degree of purple. So maybe I want something that is like a fuchsia. Oh, oops, that's not what I want to do. I want to select this, click the color, and then I'm going to type in fuchsia, if I could spell it right. I don't even know how to spell fuchsia. Anyway, so what you're able to do here is search for colors by name. So maybe if I come back over here, I'm just going to type in pink red, see what it says. Perfect. Oh, how about that? That's nice. That's red enough, right? We like that. So I'm going to go grab that color. And this is no longer going to be a color that's like in my palette. Don't get me wrong there. We're not going to set that up as a color to use throughout our site, but we do want to have a red button. So I'm going to come over here and turn this red button right here. It's going to stay named red, and I'm going to paste that hex code right here. And my text color on that is going to be white. All right. And then from there, we're going to go and just swap out all of these with our colors. So this is going to be our dark, I'm going to call this lilac dark, because I kind of have two different like lilac-y colors. So I will use my color picker here again and just go through and change all of these out. Now, the reason why you want to change all of these is because they all show up in different spaces, different places, or most of them show up in different places in your system. So this would be lilac white, light. This one is called default. I'm going to call this purple gray. I'm not a color expert, but I am putting the colors from my palette in here. There we go. And again, we're just going to go through and change everything. So this will be our dark gray, and we'll change the color again with the color picker. I have it off to the side on my screen that you guys can't see here. And then again, you go in and change all of these. So the lime, the blue, the amber, the dirty green, all of these, the pink, etc. If these aren't a part of your color palette, you want to make sure that you have changed them so that they are reflecting your color palette. The main reason why I want you to do this is there are places in your AttractWell system, like where you have built-in features such as your member area, for instance, where the buttons are going to show up with a particular color by default, right? So if we go over to the vaults here and we look at the, we go view this vault, you can see if I click this, we've got this button right here. So you see this black outline with the white, that's right here. That is going to show up in the member area automatically, right? And so if you don't want that, then you want to make sure that you are changing that, right? If we go and we view the member area generally, again, you'll see that button showing up there. So you do want to make sure that you are modifying all of those buttons where they're showing up so that you can plug them in wherever you want them on your site, and they are all reflecting your brand colors accurately. Now, the other cool thing that you can do with this is to utilize templates so that you are always really on point with your brand. So an example would be in Canva to use a blog featured image template. We've shared those on previous work sessions here before. And you can, of course, plug in your brand palette to that template and use it over and over again. I actually have an example of a site that I saw yesterday using our platform, who's doing a really great job of sort of, and this is completely built with our templates that we've provided, right? So this is, you know, very, very easy to implement what she's done here. She's got, you know, a couple of high contrast colors working for her here, but there's also a lot of great white space and a nice neutral background color here that's part of the palette. What I particularly love is how she has her blog content branded. You can actually see that while she's using these featured images that are great to kind of talk about her subject matter here, she's also incorporating judiciously her brand colors, her brand palette. So it just looks really nice. And there's a great continuity here, right? So we can tell actually looking at her site, and it's not very loud, right? But we have this, this peachy color, we have a lighter teal color, and of course we have this darker teal color. And those are gonna be the primary colors of her palette. But if we go to other parts of her website, like her homepage, you can see that we have like a lighter tan here, which again provides just a little bit more of a contrast, something that's a little bit more subtle, and keeps things easy on the eyes. So we've talked about how to set up your palette, right? So getting that done in Canva, maybe creating a brand guideline for yourself. And then you obviously want to move over to AttractWell, get those presets in place for all of your brand colors. And then you'll want to make sure those buttons are set up as well. One more thing that I want to show you is where you will find these colors in your system, aside from on, published pages, right? So on Jane's homepage here, and I didn't save those settings, she's got her buttons that are custom, that are set up. You saw the black and white one, for instance. This blue one is a custom one. So these are all showing up as she wants them to, and there are presets here that are going to be reflected across the site. So if we go to her blog, you can see that if we go to, here's a link, right, where we're hovering over, you can see that that's custom there, those colors. Our headline, again, it's linked. So all of that is something that's going to be affected by you setting up those custom colors right here, okay? Now, if you are going to create a page for your site, maybe you want to change a background. Maybe you want to, here, I'll start here with our Cassie template homepage. Maybe you want to change from this brown and you would like for it to be maybe a green from your palette. Those colors will be right here and available for you to choose. So there is that green. Boy, is that loud. How about we change that pink to our blue color so that that looks a little nicer together, right? So you have the ability to do that. If you wanted to change the color of your font, you'll see that our brand palette does show up here as well, right? So we could certainly change that. And so that's how you change so your text and the background colors here. And of course, this is going to work similarly if you are, composing an email, for instance. And then, of course, if you're going to create images to use on your site or in your newsletters or for your content, you would be creating those in Canva with that same palette and then bringing them over to AttractWell, and everything will, of course, visually work together seamlessly. So I'm excited to see if you guys have any questions or if you would like to kind of chat through maybe your brand palette, if you want any feedback on that for you. I'm happy to chat with you about that as well. All right, I think, okay, Greg has been very busy in the chat here. Okay, Cheryl says, how best to determine whether my palette works? The colors go and tell the story I want, then makes other color examples that may work better. So yeah, Cheryl, yeah, let me bring you on, we can talk. Hey, you should be able to unmute.
Yes, I am, and thank you. I need this. I have spent hours trying to see if the colors actually go together.
Okay.
And if it will pop and work enough. And there's no tool that tells me what I exactly need to know. So.
Okay. All right. So are you using all of these colors on your website?
Well, I'm changing my website as I figure out how to port it over to y'all. But I wanted to stick with one of the main ones. Well, the black and white, right? For the contrast, that's a given. But then my other primary, I wanted to bring in like a coral if it would work and keep just one of my blues and then bring in a muted color, with a little gray undertone.
Okay.
To make it a little more sophisticated. So I have some colors. I just don't know. I don't know if they work.
Okay. So have you put them into like a single Canva document together so that you can actually see them all next to each other? That's a really great place to start.
Yeah, I'll try that again. But the problem, okay, so say if I don't like one. Looking at different tints or say, what would you recommend? So I've gone to Chat GPI to say help because I can't find it anywhere else. So it's not quite right. Finding the one that is right is problematic. Does that make sense? I can look at them, but there are how many color combinations and choices. And so is there a tool that can help with that and make recommendations to say, that red is not quite right. Look at these.
So given that this is such a subjective topic, I think that it's some folks like love certain combos, and other people can look at the same combo and say that ain't it. And that's why less is more. I would encourage you to maybe look at it like your living room, or like an outfit that you would wear, right? Like, if I put all this on together, do I like it, or does it need to be a little different? One of the things that you can do here, so let's just, with this red for instance, I want to look at the color here. And do you see when I hover over? So what I did, I selected, so this is how I would recommend you go about doing this. So create in Canva, just any design, doesn't matter the size. Go to elements and just pick an element, pick a shape, and then assign it a color. So you click the element, you click color, and then you put all of your existing brand kit colors in here, doing that same thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, if we're wanting to introduce a new color, let's find something that is in the neighborhood of what we want. And then you can click it, click color, like that. And then do you see where it has this, you can actually move things around here. So this is where you can actually shift, kind of play around with it, make it a little darker, make it a little lighter, and even adjust the shade, in this case, maybe more toward a brighter pink. But you could just go nuts, right? Like, I actually kind of really, I'm a big fan of like a chartreuse, or like that sort of 70s olive color. And I kind of like that a lot in this palette. So, so you can play around with it like this. That's what I would do. And if you get close to something that you really like, and you're like, you know what, I think I like that, copy it, paste it, and then just play around with another version of it until you like it. And another thing that you could do here as well is, if you feel like you've gotten pretty close to something, duplicate that page and then try a new iteration with something different. And this is what we'll typically do, just to kind of explore and play around with things next to each other. It's not at all dissimilar to going into a hardware store and getting like the paint shade samples, or even getting some paint and like just putting some up on the wall next to each other, or just to kind of place things so that you can get a feel for it. At the end of the day, it needs to be something that you really love, because what you are is a personal brand, and that means that whatever this is, it needs to look like you, and it needs to speak to you and who you are. And so if you love it, then that's the reason to go for it. You just want to make sure that how you're using it is not detracting from the message that your brand is here to send. So if I were to use this palette that I was just playing around with here, I probably wouldn't use this goldish brown color in huge sections of my website, because it is kind of visually loud. I would use this for some buttons, or for a couple of little elements. This would be more of like an exclamation on my site. I think if you're going black and white as sort of like primary colors that you're using, having one, maybe two bold colors, that's enough. You don't need to have, you don't even necessarily need to have like a lighter color. You could, but if you have like black and white and a bright yellow, for instance, you're going to have a very bold graphic sort of vibe to your brand. And if that's who you are and what you're wanting to convey, then that's fantastic. But maybe that yellow screams a little too loud, and you're not a loud personality, and your brand's not loud. So in that case, you would go for something that maybe reflects you a little more accurately. I hope that helps. Does that make sense?
Well, all the stuff, the moving around the hex codes, I've been playing with that.
Okay.
I was just hoping there may have been a faster way, that there was some technology that could say, if you're close, look at these and show combinations. So
yeah,
it's good to know what I'm doing is working. I just haven't landed on the right fit for the change. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Let me see. Okay, here, how about this? I just Googled how to find complementary colors software. And the first thing that I saw, oh gosh, this looks a little complicated. There is there's one I saw that's called Peloton,
Been there.
Pale. Yeah, you've been there. Okay,
I've been to
you've been
all of
looking.
them, but
Okay,
it's
good.
okay. It's a technical,
Okay.
it's not a technical problem. It is a user problem, and I will work it through. So thank
You
you.
know, you might, if you want, reach out to our concierge team. They're designers. They could probably say, here's what you want to do. Do this. You
Okay,
could
perfect.
save
Thank
yourself some
you.
headache. Sure thing. Okay. Thanks for coming out. All right. Let me see. Here we go. All right. I have let's see, Helena, sorry if I mispronounced your name, and John confirmed for work reviews. So let me go ahead and bring you out here, Helena, and let's talk. How can I help you today?
I just wanted to, I guess one, now that we went over these colors, I would love to get your feedback on my site. Again, I just started it. It's pretty rough, but yeah, just if you wouldn't mind just taking a look at it. I'm
Yeah.
doing something that I didn't do with my other, it's the I totally changed my branding colors.
Ooh. Ooh. Oh, this is nice.
Okay, you do like it? Okay, I
I
was
do. Yeah.
okay.
It's intense. But
Well,
like,
okay, I love that you
it's
say that. I mean,
intense in
I
waves.
work with kind of intense stuff, and so
Yeah, it's not distractingly intense. I think what you're doing is you are kind of conveying um a depth here. And obviously it fits the subject matter. Yeah, I think it's great. And I really love the use of sort of a lighter, more soothing color because you do have some fiery colors here. The contrasts I think are really nice. And you know the light purple here, it's still very legible. And this is a great pop, and it's got still some of that purple that you're using elsewhere, but it's incorporating all of these fiery elements. So yeah, no, that's fantastic. I like that a lot.
and I had
I,
that button red, that the read more. I was gonna say, when you were showing that and I'm not sure if Greg's on the call, but on the template, that read more button,
mhm.
I thought that that would just drop down, although I recognize after typing in the entire bio that that the whole thing shows the whole time. I can't just hide a certain part of it.
Right, right. So these sections, the only sort of accordion type sections that we really have without you doing custom code are going to be like FAQs. But my
Okay.
recommendation, and this kind of speaks to the training we did recently on bios and about me pages, what I would do is just have about this much
Right.
information, or maybe just like this plus the first, sentence, or a little bit of this sentence, then trailing off with an ellipses, and then have read more, and you're sending them to a page that has your full story,
Okay, that's
right?
what I
So
was thinking. And
yeah.
then so then I guess in that sentence, so that's what I was planning on doing. And then out of just complete, yeah, I need to go through and do a bunch with the template still, but I guess more than anything, what I'll just do is put like my social media links or something on there. I was just trying to think about what else I needed to do to complete the page, because I was like, wow, it's going to be a very short page then. But I don't know, maybe I'll just do a
Mhm.
bigger picture or something like that.
Yeah, so it's actually okay for a page to be fairly short, especially if you're getting to the point quickly.
Okay.
I think people really appreciate people getting to the point quickly. There are
Okay.
some pages where it is strategically advantageous for you to have a longer page, such as a sales page, where you are
Right.
kind of engaging in a conversation with the person as they're reading. So here, you've got, obviously you want to set up your lead magnet
Right.
situation here, right? Um, and then I would definitely encourage you to have that, like create an about me page where you go
Right.
into a more complete story, and then maybe segue from that story into how you can help your person and give them a call to action on an about me page. So
Okay.
you would be abbreviating this section just a bit and using this read more button to point to that about me page. Um, and then you've got your blog posts. Great. Um, And yeah, no, this is great. And this, I think, would also, you would be modifying and sending here. That's
Right.
really, that's essentially it. I would obviously make sure that these are all linked to wherever you want them to go. And make those modifications to the lead form and abbreviating this section in favor of sending them to an additional page.
And I'm just questioning on the blog where I noticed again, just utilizing the template as it was, it had, connecting people to the, I'm sorry, if you go down further, read the blog, and then it also says, oh, I guess the subscribing for updates, that's literally just going to be the pop-up of them putting in their information, correct?
So
Yeah,
it
I
doesn't
don't
look
have it
like,
linked to
yeah,
anything right now.
yeah.
I
So what I
wasn't
would
sure how to
do
link it.
for this, I would create a landing page where
Okay.
you're offering the subscription, offering, your newsletter, what have you. So create a landing page that offers that, and then you could link to that from this image here. And then
Okay,
for book a call, depending on how you go about getting people onto your calendar, this is where I would either send them to a page on your website that has an intake form, so like a pre-call intake form, where you could then send them your link to book afterward. Or you could even, just have a contact form pop up here, where you would put as the URL a hashtag and contact all together, no space. And that would just pop up your contact form just like this one.
okay, perfect. Cool. And then I'm assuming on the pages, you guys have a newsletter template then, hopefully, maybe.
So newsletters, we have a training on newsletters, and in that we talk about saved replies. And saved replies, you can actually find those in your content library. Saved replies are how you're going to build newsletter templates that you'll be able to use for future messages. So I would definitely check out in our come back over here to Success Academy. If you search for newsletter under live training and replays, there's a training for that, and it also has sort of a workflow and a resource bundle there for you too. So if you type in
Perfect.
newsletter, that'll take you to that particular training.
Perfect.
Yeah, this one right here is the one you want.
Awesome. And then the very last thing I was going to just double check is this is more of a big picture overview, and I just wanted to get your feedback. I know one of the first calls I was on just within the last couple of weeks. I just wanted to run my overall my process for my course launch. I'm going to be doing lead magnets, and then obviously nurturing those through the email campaign. And then I'm also going to be doing some paid advertisement for my masterclass. And I guess this is my first question then. The masterclass, what are you guys seeing? I keep seeing different things, like some people doing having, like, whether it's a free masterclass or nominal. What are you guys seeing statistically most successful? There's a part of me that wants to do it free, but then I also think that you get like zero commitment. And so then I think, well, maybe I should do something nominal. And I saw this one guy on YouTube, which I actually really liked his strategy. And I don't know if AttractWell set up for this, but where they have a pay what you want. So, you could say this masterclass is worth $97, but you could pay me $1, you could pay me $150. And so that's my question is, I don't know if we're set up that way to do that. And two, what do you guys see being most successful?
Got you. Yeah. So I am not aware of a way for us to do a pay what you want, like an open-ended pay what you want as a payment on our platform. There, you could create several different payment options for sure if you wanted to have, suggested, if that were something you wanted to do. I think it ultimately depends on what you're using the masterclass for. Is the masterclass a selling tool?
Yes, I'm using it to sell the course launch
And
or
when you,
the course.
okay, and is the course, is it a high ticket item, the course?
I was actually going to start it at 1500.
Okay. Okay. So a masterclass or a webinar, right? It's all basically the same thing. You're giving a presentation, either live or a recorded version, that's giving someone information that's very attractive to them, and then using that to kind of segue into a solution to their problems, and centering the thing that you're selling as the solution to their problems. I have seen the majority of times free being the way to go for that. I'm not really personally aware of any data that indicates that charging for something like that is advantageous, but it really is kind of a business to business difference, right? It depends on your audience. It depends on the nature of what you're selling, or the nature of what you're talking about on the call. And it's something that you really could play around with. I would err initially on the side of maybe offering this for free, but maybe looking at ways that you can build leverage into how it's offered. So, just as an example, if you develop this this webinar, this presentation, this workshop, and you conduct it live, you have a great recording of it. That recording becomes the thing that you put into full automation. So when you are sending traffic, for instance, to a landing page, you're actually offering them access to, to watch it right now, right? And then, of course, they're going to convert from that video, depending. And this is, again, a lot of this is super relative. But where I have had success with this in the past, with specifically driving traffic to paid traffic to a webinar style presentation or a workshop, the call to action or the pitch for that workshop, like once they're in it, was actually a strategy call. Really selling the strategy call as a, like, we never do this, you're going to get this for free, etc. And that gives you the option to take those most serious leads from those calls and then get them into your high ticket offers. That is one way to do it. At 1500, you're kind of right in the middle zone there, between, like, you really should have a call with somebody versus, like, trying to sell this on a more automated basis. So I would consider playing around with that if you're newer to this and you haven't sold at scale in that way. I would definitely encourage you to at least try in the beginning by positioning like a discovery call so that you can really lock down your sales process.
Okay. Yeah, I've done what I was doing was one-on-one coaching, and so I'm wanting to take this like everyone else and make it something that I can scale by doing group coaching. But for sure this will be the first. And I was also doing the 1500, just thinking especially for just the initial launch, people are going to be helping me work my kinks through. It's different working one-on-one with someone versus giving someone a course. So
yeah.
So do you have thoughts on that price point outside of that? For
it's going to depend on what it is and who the audience is.
Okay. Yeah, I won't waste everyone's time going into all that. Okay. Well, that is actually still super, super helpful. Do you like doing the initial one live and just recording it and using it for a webinar then? Do you suggest that?
So do at least one live. I would encourage you to maybe do a couple, like especially if you have an existing audience that you can promote a live call to, then by all means, like, do a couple and choose your best. That's totally fine. If you've got a large social following, you could even have something like this be live broadcast into like a group on Facebook, for instance. But yeah, I would do it live a couple of times. But take the version that you like the best and use that in the funnel for automation.
Okay.
The other thing that I would say as well, and this is just because you mentioned, planning to get into paid traffic, I would also encourage you to maybe test running your paid traffic to a freebie first, right? Not to a webinar, not to a workshop necessarily. Like, try both. Because the prospect of spend, 90 minutes or X number of minutes of my life on a particular thing, depending on what the sort of selling point of the workshop is, that might not convert as easily. Obviously, it is going to indicate that someone's a bit more serious. But if your goal is to grow your list and to, eventually offer to, a broader section of your sort of pocket of people, having your lead magnet be the thing that they encounter first, and then having that webinar, workshop, whatever, be that secondary opt-in is a really effective thing to do there as well. So that way you're capturing the attention of the people that that this is relevant to, and those
Right.
who find it most relevant right now are the ones that are going to say, oh yeah, I want that, I want the workshop. So the workshop can be sort of like you're basically drawing them further down the funnel with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. And what I was going to do, just making sure that as far as advertising, that I was dialed in, I was actually going to tinker around with the advertising with the lead magnet.
Okay, good.
Just to kind of let that drive me, let me know where the influx would, how I could tweak it just with the influx of the lead magnet. So I knew, what all the geographical stuff, all that good stuff, the demographics that I needed that were more ideal. So, okay, very helpful. You're awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate you sharing with us today, and look forward to seeing more of what you do.
Thank you.
All right. I have John signed up for a work review, but I don't see you here. So John Hudgens, if you're here, raise your hand for me so that I don't miss you. Otherwise, perhaps we'll have to reconnect another time. So since we're still here, let's go ahead and get through these other questions that we have. Thank you guys for sharing these. Blaga asks, how do I create an add to calendar link for all the calendars? So this is, I've shared this before. It's a third-party tool. So if you have a coaching program or if you have like a series of live calls, something that you offer on an ongoing basis, and once people are opted in, you want to give them the opportunity to add that as a calendar event to their calendars. What you can do is, let me go over here and share with you real quick, and you can see where this is. This is a free tool. We are not associated with it, but it is ical.marudot.com. That's where you want to go. And here you can actually create a new event. So in this case, we're going to go, it's going to start on the 19th. It is going to happen at noon. It's going to go until 1. I want to repeat this every week for 14 weeks. I'm going to save that. I can name it. I can put my Zoom. I want to put the Zoom link and the location and the URL here, and put the description for the event here as well. So we'll save and close that. And then you can actually download this, right? So we'll export this, give it a name, etc. So you download the file. And then what you're going to do is upload that file to your files over here in your AttractWell account. So you upload that to your files, and then you can take the link to that file and you can put it in emails, you can publish it on a page, etc. And so anybody who clicks that is going to get access to, basically it's going to download a calendar file to their device, and then they'll be able to add that, whether it's Outlook or Apple or whatever that is. Okay. Lynn says, can you show how to save a page and what the settings mean as far as how things are linked together? How to save a page. So there is a save button on a page, but I wonder if you mean something else by that. If you like, I would be thrilled if you would like to come out and chat. If you want to just pop your hand up, Lynn, I can bring you out to talk, and we can get right to the bottom of that question. Be happy to help you with that. Hi.
Good morning. Yesterday I was working with a site and I was in the pages and would duplicate one of the things you had and then try to, or create something new, like went in to the templates, grabbed one, started working on it, tried to save it. And then it would go to settings. I didn't know what to do with the settings. So I kind of mess in that because, I've worked with software before, and, save that. And then I would go to save it to get out of the page, and then it would pop me back into settings. So I had this constant cycle, and there was nothing that told me what I was doing wrong. It was very frustrating.
Okay. I'm looking for an account for you. Is there a name that it's under that I should be looking for so we could pull up a page?
It's under Scott Rich or Abajaba.
Okay.
I think what was happening there, the first time you save a page, it has to have a name. So if it just says like my page or blank or something, if you put in a page name, I believe then it would save.
Yeah.
That's probably what was happening there.
That was my assumption as well. So we could probably repeat that problem here if we just go to add page, and I'll use this one. And, I could go in and make all kinds of changes, but if I hit save, it brings you here because we don't have the name, title bar, text, link path. We don't have this set up. So if we set this up, so I'm going to call this home, and we hit done and we save it, now it saves, right? So it's very likely that what happened here was that the page hadn't been named yet.
Well, let me look because I did have it named. Like
it could be that the link path might have been like identical to another page on your site. That can happen as well. If the link path is incorrect, and there typically is going to be a dialog box that pops up that indicates that. But yeah, if you know which page it is that we could take a look at, we can double check that.
Well, I'm just going to do a new one, the one I was working on yesterday. So I just put trying this now, and so it repopulates the title bar text and link path text. Okay. All right. So that was the problem. So my understanding what the problem was that the page actually had the same name as something else that was already named that. And so that was the issue. Okay. All right. Very frustrating. I spent hours looking at these videos trying to figure it out, what the problem was. And so lastly, when I'm looking at these the title bar and the link path, I'm not sure where exactly that's going and then how they work together. I don't see any mapping.
Got you. Yeah. So the name is going to be the name that shows up in your list of pages. So if I go back over here to your pages, oops, wrong platform. If we go to your pages here, name, which is this field here, is going to populate your pages. Oh, here we go, here, right? So if you typed in the word frustrated, that's going to be the name of it right here. Title bar text is what's going to show up here. So if you look in the tabs where my cursor is going, so here's our YouTube one, here's website pages, AttractWell, whatever you put here is what's going to show up. This is a title bar. So that's what's going to show up here. It's only going to show up in tabs like this. And it would also show up, I believe, yeah, it's just the title bar of the page. And then the link path is going to be yourwebsite.com/whatever this is.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. Okay. So my understanding, the mistake was it was titled the same thing.
The link path probably was the same thing, or you hadn't perhaps, because these can be the same as other pages. Like this could be called confirmation, and you can have 7 of these and they're all called confirmation, and that's a problem. But this will stop you if this is the same as another one, because you can't have, you can only have a unique name per page.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear that. I didn't see where you're pointing as far as this. You mean
this link path?
No,
has to be unique for every page. And if you haven't entered anything in, so if it still says my page and nothing else here has been changed, So if you're starting from a brand new page, from like a template, so
Mhm.
I'm just going to go create a new one. It will not let you save the page if you haven't modified any of this at all, right? So if I haven't touched this and I go to save, that's why it's bringing this back up, because, and it's highlighting the text right here. We've got to finish these settings in order for the page to save.
Okay, all right. And so then for each page that you create, you title it according to the top. So yeah, this is very confusing, the mapping here. Yeah, all right, I'll work on it. And then I was a little confused, and it was a question I asked when the other gal was talking, is when she had her information on her what looks like her first page or landing page.
Mm-hmm.
How do you link? Because you create my story and my photo, but I don't see how you link that anywhere. So does she need to bring that information onto an about page, or is there a way to link my story and my photo?
Yeah, so I actually go into this feature in pretty great detail in a recent training about bios and about me pages. But essentially with AttractWell, when you first get started with us, before you develop any page at all whatsoever, you have the ability to go into my story and photo and add your story and your photo. And this will automatically be the homepage of your site. But then you have the ability, again, here on this same page, to choose where this shows up. So this is a built-in feature, and you're customizing a built-in feature. So in this case, this built-in feature that displays your story and photo next to each other can be shown underneath the content of your landing pages, underneath your individual blog posts or your individual event listings, and then also at the bottom of your archive, meaning your entire list of your blog posts and your event listings. So this isn't something that inserts onto a web page. It's something that inserts into built-in features in the system. And you have the option here to choose where you would want to have that show up.
Okay, yeah, okay, so now I understand. And so then, so for her, for example, when she, with that land, or not the landing page, like she created a page.
Her homepage,
Yeah, there's no way to link back to that. She has to repopulate that, or she has to create an about page that takes her to that information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so this is really intended to be sort of an abbreviated thing. So if we go to
the my
like
story and photo is, yeah, okay, I understand that. Got it. All right. Okay.
Yeah, it's not intended to substitute an about me page. It's just a great quick way to insert your bio underneath a blog post, right? Or underneath an event listing, or at the bottom of a landing page, specifically the landing page feature here in AttractWell. So if you use a landing page, it's a very simple form. So here you can actually see in this published version, there's no photo here, right? But this is the information that you put into my story and photo. So this is going to attach, because it's selected, to the bottom of your landing pages, to the bottom of your blog posts, etc. And that's a setting that you can modify there. But this isn't its own independent page, and it's not really like it wouldn't be effective for it to be, because an about me page should really be more of a dialogue with your visitor that allows them to move ahead to other things that are offered, right? So like work with me or join my Facebook group or whatever that looks like. And so that really should be its own page on your website. This is just a way to insert an abbreviated version of that into built-in parts of our system.
Okay, yeah, I misunderstood the two. And because I did watch that whole video, I watched tens of hours yesterday. Okay, and then lastly, regarding the colors, with some of the preset templates that you've already have, it's my understanding you need to go into each section and change the colors for example, my palette, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It's not something you can just send and make it go globally to your entire site.
That's right. Yeah, where you want to like engage with page design, you would be modifying the templates according to the colors and images that you want to use, and that would be per page. Now, that said, you do have the ability, and I personally love doing this. If you love a page that you've created and you want to essentially use that same design on another page, you can duplicate the page that you've created. So if you've modified a template to your liking with the colors and images and stuff, you can duplicate that and then, you know, make the content modifications and use that as an additional page on your site. And we also have the copy in feature, which is here. I'll show you if we'll just go pretend and add a new one here. So maybe I have a section that I have modified on another page that I particularly like. You have the ability to add that section in by using this copy in another page, and you can pop that in. So here's just one that's already in your account. And so you can actually, maybe I wanted this featured in, and so I'm just going to delete these other sections that I don't want. And now I have this thing that I've already created on another part of my site. So you do have like some time-saving features there in terms of not needing to redesign something that you would like to use again. You can copy in those sections that you've already done. So you don't necessarily have to you know, manually do every single thing every single time if you've got some designs that you really like.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Glad we could help. Okay, and I think that was all of the Q&A. So thank you guys for sticking around and asking all kinds of great questions. If you have something that you would like to learn about, maybe you're not finding the answer that you're looking for in video, or you know, it's just something that we haven't talked about yet, feel free, reach out, let us know. We are here to help you. So support@attractwell.com. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back same time next week. Have a great week, everybody.